Good morning and happy Tuesday. You guys did pretty well on the homework. There are a few, though, that the results were not consistent among all of us. So I'm going to go through the last 6 problems, and then we'll move on to practicing still the same thing, but just in word problem form as opposed to just me giving you the picture. Okay, so let's get right into it. I'm going to zoom in so we have plenty of room. All right, the first thing is let's go ahead and fill in so we know what kind of problems we're talking about. If this is 60 degrees, this one is going to be 30 degrees. Okay, and so then I'm going to label my triangle. I think one of the things that's hard about these problems is when you see the letter X, like right here, some of us might have thought that meant the X side, but that is not the X side like when we label it the way that we've learned. Okay, so I'm going to label it across from the 30 is labeled X. Across from the right angle or the hypotenuse is 2x. So really what we're trying to find, this missing side, is the 2x side. And then that means the last side is x root 3. So did I give myself the x side? No, I did not. So I need to write an equation. Or some of you might realize that because the root 3's match, so will the 12 and the x. Okay? But if you wanted to write an equation, you could do like this. And so you see that x equals 12. So this side here is going to be 12. And so when I do 2 times 12 to plug it in here, that means my x is going to be 24. Okay, so that should be the side length for number 6. All right, let's go on to number 7. All right, now number 7 does not say at all what kind of triangle this is, but you've got to notice that you have a square here. Okay, you have all sides being congruent. And so if you look at just this one triangle or the other one, it doesn't matter, you see you have 2 congruent sides. So that automatically tells you it's a 45-45. Okay? And then obviously that's a 90 as well. Okay, so now we know we can label our sides. Okay, so I'm going to label them x, x, and x root 2. Now, the nice thing is here, the x's are the actual x side lengths, okay? But this is a little bit trickier of a problem because we do not have the x side. So we want to take the, excuse me, and the 20 and the x root 2 and set up an equation. So x root 2 equals 20, and then we're going to divide by root 2. Okay? And then remember, we cannot leave the radical in the denominator, so we times by it. And then we go straight across. 20 root 2 over plane 2, because root 2 times root 2 is root 4. I'm just skipping that step because I'm trying to get y'all to see the little shortcut. Okay? And then 20 divided by 2 is 10. And so, there's our answer. Because that's what we're looking for. Now, number 8 is similar, but some of you thought immediately that the answer was 10 root 2, I think is what a lot of us put. I should have pulled up the Google form while I was working this. But basically, it's just the reverse of number 7. Okay, so let's go ahead and label it. Let's don't skip steps. So this is our x, this is our x, and this is our x root 2 side. So I'm asking you to take the x and plug it in here. So that means we're going to have 10 root 2, but then we have to bring this root 2 down. And so 10 root 2 times root 2 is root 4, and we know that root 4 is 2. And then 10 times 2 is 20. But just be intuitive. Look back at this problem. Do you see we had a 20 and our answers are 10 root 2? Well, here I have a 10 root 2 and my answer is 20. It's just literally the same problem in reverse. Okay? But if you didn't understand, hopefully now you do. I gave you x, so you don't have to write an equation. All you have to do is plug in into the formula. Okay? All right, on number 9, let's go ahead and label what we have. Oh, I think I know why this problem was tricky. I think some of you did not know what this 36 meant. So the 36 means this whole side length. And so we don't need the 36. We need from here to here, half of it. And so that's all we're going to do. We're just going to type in the calculator 36 divided by 2, which gives us 18. If that makes sense. Okay. And so now I'm going to label using pink. Okay. So we're going to do across from the 30 is x. Across from the right angle or the hypotenuse is 2x. And then this side is x root 3, the remaining side. I'm not even like worrying about this triangle over here. Okay. So did I give you x or 2x? And the answer is no. All right. So this is a little bit more of a, challenging problem where you have to do a little bit of math. Okay. So we're going to put x root 3 equal to 18. And we're going to divide by root 3. And so then we have to times by root 3 to get it out of the denominator. So we have 18 root 3 over 3. And then that can simplify. So 18 over 3 is 6. Now, what did we just solve for? That right there is x, which is this side length. Is that what we wanted our answer to be? No, because we wanted to find the hypotenuse here. So that means now we take this x and we plug it in. 2 times 6 root 3. And so now when we multiply, we can only multiply the 2 and the 6. So our final answer should be 12 root 3. Okay? That one is a little challenging for sure. Okay. So now with the last ones, it's going to be kind of like a two-part problem. So I'm just going to go piece by piece. I am going to start with this triangle down here at the bottom because it has the 18. And hopefully that will help me on this, solve these problems, okay? So I'm not really going to look to the left over here yet. I'm going to just solve the problem, fill in everything, and then I'll go back and write in the blanks. All right, so let's get a smaller pen. This is going to be 60 degrees, and I'm going to go ahead and label everything. Okay, so the hypotenuse is labeled 2x. This side is going to get labeled x, and then the other side is x root 3. Now, I did not give you the x side. However, I gave you the next best thing. I gave you the 2x. So if 2x equals 18, then 1x equals 9. So now we know our x. So that side right here is now, I'm going to maybe use a different color and make it a little bolder. This side is 9. So there's my w. Okay? Now that I know what my x is, my x side, I can go plug it in. So here it's going to be 9 root 3. Now that's my x side. Okay, the x variable, even though it wasn't my x side with my labels. All right, does that make sense there? Hopefully that's clear. Now I'm going to go to the other triangle, and I am going to use the fact that this is now my 30 degrees, okay? And then here's my right angle, and now I'm going to label them using different colors. Let's use red. Okay, so across from my 30 is my x side. My hypotenuse is 2x. And then the remaining side, so you guys, this was my x side in the other triangle. I'm going to mark it out. Now this 9 is my x root 3 side. Okay, so you are going to piece together that the 9 from the previous side, or previous triangle, is now still 9 for this little bitty triangle. Okay, so I'm going to put x root 3 equal to 9. Y'all see it here, it's a little sloppy, but all right, so now I'm going to solve. So I'm going to divide by root 3 and then times by root 3. So we're going to have 9 root 3 over 3. Remember, this equals root 9, but the square root of 9 is 3. And then that's 3 root 3. Now, what did I just solve for there? I just solved for the x. So x is here. Now, it's not really x over here when we're trying to fill in the blank. It's side y. So 3 root 3 is going here. Okay? And now I'm going to do 2 times that length for z. And so 2 times 3 root 3 is going to be 6 root 3. Okay. So go back and watch if you need to, rewind. That is certainly challenging, and it was one of the most missed, these two were for sure, and I understand why. Okay, now let's look at 11. So we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to look at just this triangle, oh gosh, the left one first, okay? So if that's 30, this is going to be 60. So I'm going to label it. This is my X side. Okay, I'm going to leave that because that's, it is what it is. All right, and then this is my 2x side, and this is my x root 3. A lot of you wanted to make the 12 root 3 side the x root 3 side also because of the root 3's, but that's not the case, okay? We have to match it up the same way every time. So I'm going to plug or set up an equation because I do not have x. So I'm going to do 2x equals 12 root 3, which means I just need to divide by 2. And so x will equal 6 root 3. So that's this side right here. Okay? All right, now I can plug it in. I can plug this x in here. So I'm going to do 6 root 3 and then bring my other root 3, which is 6 root 9, or 6 times 3, which is 18. So my W is 18. Okay? All right, now I'm going to use that concept. I have to use this 6 root 3 because now it's part of this triangle as well. Okay, so I'm going to go put my 30 degrees in here. Okay, so I'm going to label. Across is going to be my x, and the hypotenuse is 2x, and this is my x root 3 side. Okay, so it was my x side, but I'm going to mark it out because it's no longer my x side, it's my x root 3 side. And this is really good news because that means x root 3 equals 6 root 3. And so then the root 3's will cancel out and the x and the 6 will match up. So that means this side is 6, our x is 6, and then we're going to go plug it in over here, and that's 12. And so now let's just fill it in the side over here. So our y side is now 12. And our z side is 6. Okay, that's a lot going on in those problems. Those are definitely challenging ones for sure. But y'all can do this. You got it. So just kind of go back, review, rewind if you need to. All right. Okay, so now we're going to do some word problems. Okay. I am going to do 4 with you, and then you're going to do 3 for quote unquote homework, okay, or practice on your own. I'll upload these, so if you want to print them out, you can, or if you want to see them. Over today and tomorrow, we're going to finish this worksheet, but I don't want to do all of it. It's going to be a little overwhelming if we do all of it, so I've picked, a few problems that we're going to do. Okay, so get out a piece of paper and make sure you have, I don't guess you really need your calculator, and let's see if we can work some word problems. Now, don't be intimidated by these, okay? You totally can do this. We just need to be really careful about reading the question, looking for the context clues, and trying to understand what we have, okay? So the first thing is, this says, find the length of the diagonal of a square. So I'm going to draw my square, to the best of my ability, which isn't great, with sides 10 inches long. So I'm going to go 10, 10, 10, and then 10. And it says, find the length of the diagonal. So we're finding the length of the diagonal. Now, is that the only diagonal? No, I could have done this way as well, but I'm just going to pick one, okay? Now, this is part of special right triangles. So you guys, it has to be a special right triangle, either the 45-45 or the 30-60-90. And you should always know when we have a square, that's going to turn into a 45-45-90. When we draw a diagonal, you remember our properties, it bisects the angle. And so that's how we know it's a 45-45. And so if you wanted to redraw it just as a 45-45, you certainly could. Okay? And this is what it's asking us to find. And so I'm going to label it x, x, and x root 2. Is this an easy one or a hard one? It's an easy one because I'm giving you x. So all you have to do is plug in 10 and you're done. That's the length of the diagonal. Okay? So whenever you see the word square, you immediately need to think 45, 45, 90. Okay? All right, the next one, number 3, says one side of an equilateral triangle measures 6 centimeters. All right, so first of all, let's make sure we understand what equilateral means. We've talked about it. It means all sides and angles are congruent. Okay? So when I draw my equilateral triangle, I'm going to do my best to make it look all the same. It says one side measures 6 centimeters. Okay? Well, if one side equals 6 centimeters, they all do, because it's equilateral. And then it says find the measure of an altitude. Okay, so we've talked about this word before. Altitude is another word for height. Okay, so we need to draw in the height. So where in the world is the height going to go? Well, if you remember from when we learned about altitudes, it goes from a vertex and it has to go straight down to form a 90-degree angle, because I talked about like measuring at a doctor's office. You know, the nurse measures you straight up and down. Okay, so our height is going to get drawn in like this. And so now you need to ask yourself, well, what kind of triangle is this? Is it a 45-45 or is it a 30-60-90? Well, the way that we're going to know that is because of this equilateral word. We should know that if all of the angles are equal, we're going to do 180 divided by 3, because all 3 angles are equal, and that gives us 60 degrees. So this one is 60, this one is 60, and then this full one is 60. And so what does that tell you about this little one here? Well, it tells you it's 30. Okay, so if you want to redraw this triangle just to have the 30, 60, 90, it'd be 60 up here and 30 here. We know this is 6 centimeters. And what do you guess is down here? Well, we probably will guess that it's half, and we'll confirm that in just a second, but it really is. Okay, so let's label this triangle. So across from 30 is x, and the hypotenuse is 2x. So do y'all see the relationship right there? If 2x is 6, then 1x is 3. It does cut it in half. And it wants to find the altitude, which is here, and what would that get labeled? That would get labeled x root 3. So do we know our x? The answer is yes. So this is an easy one as well. Now, it is not an easy question because you had to know how to draw it and all that good stuff. But once you get it labeled, it is a fairly easy question. So the height of the triangle is going to be 3 root 3 centimeters. And that's it. Okay. All right, let's go on. Oh, so anyways, when you see the word equilateral triangle, you should automatically think 30, 60, 90. Okay. All right, so number 6 is talking about a square. So I'm going to draw a square again. And it says, what is the side length of a square that has a diagonal length of 12? So we know this length now, but we do not know these. Okay? So again, let's think about what we know here. I told you that when you have a square, you need to automatically think 45, 45, 90. And we know this is 12. So let's label our sides. Okay? So we go x, x, x root 2. So if we want to find the side lengths, we're going to have to kind of work backwards to find our x. So we're going to do x root 2 equals 12. So we're going to divide by root 2. I think some of y'all are probably starting to see this method. It's the same every single time. It's basically just take the hypotenuse, divide it by 2, and put the root with it. Literally every single time. So half of 12 is 6, and then just put the root. All right, and does that answer our question? What is the side length of a square? So yes. That's our answer. Okay. All right, what is the perimeter of an equilateral triangle? Okay, yay. We already know how to do equilateral triangle. that has a height of 18. All right, so I'm going to draw the height in 18 centimeters. Now, perimeter is a concept from elementary school, but we need to remind each other that's where you add all sides. Okay? And so from just a moment ago, we talked about that this should be 60 degrees, 60 degrees, and 60 degrees. And then these are cut in half. So these are both 30 degrees because of dropping that perpendicular. Okay, so then I'm going to draw it again. You don't have to do this drawing again. It just helps me. All right, so we want to find the perimeter. So we want to be able to find all of the side lengths. Well, you guys, if this is an equilateral triangle, they're all going to be the same, right? So if I can find this one side, they're all going to be the same. Okay, so I'm just going to call this the side that we're looking for. All right, let's label our triangle. So this is going to be x. The hypotenuse is 2x, and this remaining side is x root 3. So this takes a little bit more effort. We have to solve. So we're going to do x root 3 equals 18. And then we're left with 18 root 3 over 3, which equals 6 root 3. Now, what did I just solve for? That is my x. So that is this side down here. So this is 6 root 3. Okay? Now, that is actually only this half right here. We don't want the whole, half of it. We want the whole thing. Okay? So I'm going to do 2 times 6 root 3 to find the whole side, which will give me 12 root 3. Okay? So now I'm going to go back to my original picture. If this is 12 root 3, so is this side, and so is this side. And now to find perimeter, I need to add all of the sides. Now I'm going to have to come down here into number 7. Okay? In number 8. So to find the perimeter, we're going to do 12 root 3 plus 12 root 3 plus 12 root 3, or what's a faster way to do this? 3 of them. 3 times 12 root 3. And so my final answer is 36 root 3 centimeters. To me, we're much more used to multiplying than adding, but just to remind you about adding, the radicals all have to be the same, and then you bring that radical down, and then you add the numbers out front. Okay, so 12 plus 12 plus 12 is 36, which is like 12 times 3. Okay? All right, so we did 2 easy ones where I gave you kind of the x and you only had to plug in. Then we did a little more challenging ones where you had to solve for x and then plug in. All right, and we did squares and equilateral triangles. Okay, so squares are going to be 45, 45, 90. Equilateral triangles are going to be 30, 60, 90. All right, here are the 3 problems I want you to do. Now, immediately, I want you to understand that this is not what we've done already. Okay, I want you to really draw the picture and think about what that kind of triangle is. Okay, I'm not going to tell you because I want you to try to figure it out. In number 8, you should know because the picture is there. And then number 4, where did number 9 come from? I don't know. Number 4, it's a yield sign. So if you're not sure about a yield sign, it tells you in here. But hopefully you are because of maybe studying for your driver's permit. Anywho, try these 3. I would like for you to make sure that you're rounding. Okay, so this one says round your answer to the nearest tenth. Actually, let's strike that. Let's put exact. So like if it's a root, leave it as a root. Instead of putting 10.3 centimeters or something like that. Leave it as a root instead of doing that. I think everything else should be exact as well. So I hopefully have the Google form correct this time. But please type your answers in there because it's a good way for me to see how you guys are doing. All right. Awesome. Keep up the good work. Miss you guys.